Welcome to Guide to IELTS. In this video, we'll write an essay in response to this question from Cambridge Book 16, General Training. Plastic bags, plastic bottles, and plastic packaging are bad for the environment. What damage does plastic do to the environment? What can be done by governments and individuals to solve this problem? The essay written in response to this doesn't need to be too technical, but there are a few basic concepts that you need to understand. We'll go through them quickly. The problem with plastics is that they are non-biodegradable. What this means is that once they are thrown away, they don't break down or decompose. If and when they do, it takes hundreds or thousands of years, and they emit or give out harmful chemicals when they decompose. In contrast, biodegradable products are those which break down or decompose or decay by bacteria, etc. in the environment. So, they once again become a part of nature and don't harm the environment. All the living organisms are biodegradable, all the animal bodies, all the plants. In terms of the products that we use, any product that is biodegradable is better for the environment. Another word that comes in handy when you're writing about environmental issues is landfills. Landfills are areas where large amounts of garbage are disposed of by burying it. One problem caused by this is obviously that the process has become unmanageable because of the large amount of garbage being produced by us humans. But there is also the problem that landfills have all kinds of toxic material in them which will pollute the area around it over time. That is, they are long-term pollutants. Another term, microplastics. Microplastics are very small pieces of plastic which are now in every part of our world, from oceans to mountains and air, and also in human body. One last concept before we move on to our essay, the 3 R's. The 3 R's of the environment are reduce, reuse, and recycle. These 3 R's can come in handy whenever writing about environmental issues, but especially in case of plastics. On to the question now. This question type can either be considered a double question type, we have 2 questions, or it can be considered an impact solution question type because the first question is asking for the damage or the negative impact of plastic usage, and the second question is asking for the solution to the problem. In this essay, there is no need to write reasons behind the rampant use of plastics. If we do want to mention the reasons, we can do so in a single sentence in the introduction. Always keep the focus of the essay only on exactly what is asked if you want to get a good band. The question asks about the damage caused to the environment, that is the negative impact or effect of plastic on environment. And then the solution to this problem, with specific focus on what governments can do and what individuals can do. The writing format that we'll follow is the first paragraph with the introduction, which can have an optional general statement followed by paraphrasing of the question. The next paragraph will mention the damage or impact of plastic usage, so it will contain the answer to the first question. In the next paragraph, we'll start writing the solutions, that is the answer to the second question, and finally, we'll end with the conclusion in the last paragraph. In these types of questions, in which we don't need to give an opinion or take a side, as we need to do in certain question types such as do you agree or disagree, or discuss both views and give your opinion, conclusion is just a summary of what we have written in the essay. It doesn't need to give an opinion. In the second question, governments and individuals are specified. It is crucial that in my essay, I specify clearly what governments can do and what individuals can do. If I write about general solutions, I will score less on task completion. If I have just one solution each, I can mention them in one paragraph. But if there are more, I can choose to make separate paragraphs, in which case there will be 5 paragraphs. When writing, I'll give you example of each type. As I said, it depends on how many points I have. That is why, after understanding the question and thinking about what writing format we'll follow, the next step is to plan the writing. In the planning, first we have to figure out what we'll write in response to the first question. First point is that plastic is non-biodegradable. This leads to problems such as soil pollution, and water pollution leads to damage to marine life. Another issue because of this is that plastic bags clog drains, which leads to flooding. Second damage that plastics cause to the environment is emission of toxic gases, which leads to air pollution. And another one that I can write is that microplastics are now present everywhere in the environment, which are again harmful to the environment. Next, we move on to what the governments and individuals can do to solve this problem. In almost all causes solution essays or impact solutions essay that we write, one solution is usually about creating awareness and spreading awareness. So in this case also we'll write that the government can mount awareness campaigns to inform citizens about the negatives of plastic, about the significance of the 3 R's of recycling, reusing and reducing. Another thing that the governments can do is ban usage of single-use plastic. Waste management is another very important part of saving the environment, in which we segregate the waste. And one more thing that the governments across the world need to do is that they need to collaborate with one another. After all, any environmental problem that we talk about is a global issue. It's not a country-specific issue. Now let's think about what the individuals can do. First, individuals can follow the government guidelines. Second, each of us should try to lead an eco-friendly lifestyle in whatever little ways we can, and in this way reduce carbon footprint. So since we have quite a few points here, when writing we'll write 2 sample essays, one which uses all the points and another which is comparatively simpler and uses a few of these points. If your essay is almost error-free and you make sure you write a minimum of 250 words, answer the question properly, and use some variety of words, not necessarily big words, you can achieve a band 7 even with the simpler essay. So don't fret over or get tensed over the longer, difficult essays with many points if you feel you can't manage such essays. Now, after you're done with the planning, the next thing that you should do before writing is think of the vocabulary you would use. The vocabulary that you think about at this stage of essay writing is not the general vocabulary that you need for writing. General vocabulary includes words and phrases such as moreover, furthermore, however, on the other hand, consequently. You should know these words thoroughly beforehand. The vocabulary you think about here is topic-specific vocabulary for the essay question that you get. Now, in this case, the question is about plastics. The first thing I try to think of is a word to replace plastics. There is no perfect replacement. So observe that in my writing, I use the words plastic and plastics a few times, but I try to change the words around them. Do not force synonyms. Sometimes we need to leave some words be. However, there are some other words and phrases that I think of at this time. I can pen a few down on a rough paper if I want to, but it's usually not required. I just keep them consciously in mind to avoid repetition of words and phrases. Some of these words are on your screen now. Now let's start writing the essay using the planning. We'll be writing 2 samples simultaneously. The first one using all the points and the second one a simpler version of it using some of the points. The first paragraph is the introduction. The introduction has 3 parts: a general statement, paraphrasing of the question, and a mention of what the essay will discuss. If you're one of those who struggle with the general statement, please don't spend time trying to write it. It is important that the general statement connects with the question. It should not seem memorized. So if you're struggling with the general statement, start with the paraphrasing of the question instead and skip the general statement. In this case, I could write a simple general statement. In the last couple of decades, our planet has faced skyrocketing use of plastic. I could either follow it up with the paraphrasing or I could just start the essay with the paraphrasing. So the paraphrasing would be, all products which are made of plastic, including bags, bottles, and packaging material, are detrimental to the environment. Next, we mention what the essay will focus on. In this essay, the adverse impact of plastic towards environment shall be discussed, followed by the measures which should be taken on government and individual levels to resolve this critical issue. Now we start with the next paragraph, which will list out the damage caused by plastic usage to the environment. The first sentence that we need in the beginning of the second paragraph is the topic sentence. The topic sentence could be something as simple as, there are plenty of ramifications on nature of using plastic items, or Ramifications of plastic usage are manifold and widespread. A third possibility, which is a little better, rampant usage of plastic products of all kinds, but especially single-use plastic, has had and continues to have severe consequences. Use any of these three. After writing this topic sentence, we continue the second paragraph by writing about the damages that we have listed out in our planning. We'll start with the word firstly. Firstly, as plastic is non-biodegradable, once it is disposed of, it continues to exist in the environment for thousands of years. As a result, it has multiple negative outcomes. Not only does it lead to soil pollution, but it also pollutes the water. This in turn damages marine life, both flora and fauna. A simpler way of writing this could just be, firstly, as plastic is non-biodegradable, once it is disposed of, it continues to exist in the environment for thousands of years. Therefore, the plastic that is used and thrown away today will keep harming the environment for centuries. Do make a note of the different transition words and phrases and conjunctions that we are using, which we are highlighting on the screen. The second point that we had about emission of toxic gases. Secondly, burning of plastic emits toxic gases into the air, which causes harmful air pollution. In my simpler essay, I could just end it here and start the next paragraph after this about solutions. However, I do have another point which I will be writing in the first sample essay, which is the longer version. Lastly, the deleterious effects of plastics have now become apparent, with microplastics becoming ubiquitous in the environment. Moving on to the next paragraph now. The simpler essay will have just one paragraph which will first mention what the government can do, followed by what individuals can do. The other essay will have one paragraph of what government can do, a separate fourth paragraph of what individuals can do, and then the conclusion. As I've said before, either of the two is correct. Once again, we need a topic sentence. A simple topic sentence could be, however, both the government authorities as well as individuals can help fight this grave issue. A couple of other options for topic sentences are on your screen. Then we continue with what the government can do. Notice that for government, we are using synonyms such as authorities or here country leadership. As far as the country leadership is concerned, it first needs to mount awareness campaigns consistently to educate the citizens about the wide ramifications of plastics and the significance of the 3 R's of recycling, reusing, and reducing. So in the simpler essay, this is all I would mention about what the government can do. In the other one, I'd follow it up with, moreover, governments across the globe should not only ban usage of single-use plastic products, but also invest in research and development of effective management schemes. Last but not the least, it is paramount that these endeavors be discussed on global platforms to ensure collaborative and sustained action. Next, we start what individuals can do. In the simpler essay, this will be part of the third paragraph itself, whereas in the other one, this will be beginning of the fourth paragraph. On an individual level, each of us can contribute to this mission of environment protection, firstly by following government rules and guidelines. Secondly, every person ought to strive to have an eco-friendly lifestyle and restrict usage of plastic and other products that hurt the environment and embrace environment-friendly alternatives such as jute and cloth bags. Notice simple changes in vocabulary with phrases such as each of us and every person. In this way, all of us can reduce our own carbon footprint while leading others by example. If I want, I can also write an example. For example, I personally make it a point to carry a steel water bottle with me and refill it to avoid the need to buy bottled water. Finally, we start with the concluding paragraph, the last paragraph. It is a sad reality of today's times that despite the fact that plastic is detrimental to Mother Nature, its use continues to be rampant. The course of action to combat this has to involve a combined effort of all sections of society, with the government leading the way and the general public joining in. So all I've said in the conclusion is plastic is bad for environment. Instead of environment, I've used Mother Nature. Instead of saying people or individuals, I've used general public. You could always get slight variations of such essays. For example, you can get questions about advantages and disadvantages of usage of plastic, or about causes of plastic problems and how to solve them. The basic concepts and terms we use are similar in all such essays, but it is crucial that you use these in such a way that you clearly answer the given question. That's it for now. Hope this helped you. All the very best.